Good morning. This is a video walk around of Addiction, a 2003 Mustang 3200 sports cruiser. Fortunately, the early morning light is on the side of the boat that's the most difficult to get to, and the neighbour is out, so we get a pretty good view of it at this. Obvious features of the boat: it's a gel coat white hull with a black panel in the upper topsides. The boat going past currently, making a bit of noise. The red stick-on stripe down the side has a rub spot at the rear, which has not had the hull underneath damaged, but the stripe itself does look a bit unsightly. This side of the boat, there are no obvious lumps or bumps or scrapes. The gel coat is in good order. It was polished in July and it presents in above average condition. The black, which normally fades considerably, is in surprisingly good condition for the age of the boat and is polished up well. Anti-fouling on the boat was done also in July and presents well still, of course. The boat's got an extended rear awning, you can see well from this side, and generally is in very nice condition. Looking along the port side of the vessel, you can see the hull's got a good gloss finish. The top sides perhaps less so. They're a little chalky at this stage. I'll give it a rub shortly and demonstrate. But the top sides could benefit from a polish. They're starting to show a few dull patches and would warrant some waxing. The few black spots you can see on the deck are bird droppings. They're not imperfections in the boat. The same view down the other side of the boat. The hull itself is well polished. You probably pick up in the video there's some colour change on the hull above the anchor locker drain. That's just condensation. It's not actually a blemish in the hull. It's been quite cool here this morning and it's now sunny, so there's a fair bit of condensation on the hull. The anchor chain locker drain has got a run of rust streaking down from it. The bowsprit and the anchor roller assembly is all in good order. There's no visible cracks. Some of these Mustang 32s in this area in the centre of the picture show stress and cracking from overloading the bowsprit. This one is fine. The same is the case on the port side of the boat. The anchor is a 16 kilo unbranded plough. The chain appears to be in good. Galvanising on the chain is bright. There's a snubber fitted to take the load off the Muir windlass. There is a stainless shackle attaching the anchor to the chain, which a surveyor won't like. Looking back along the hull is in good order. Some of the boot striping has been rubbed off by fenders. Not everybody will keep the name Addiction, so that could be rectified while changing the name. Striping is a relatively cheap process. The deck itself is in good condition. Non-skid has not been worn. We see a few of these where the non-skid surface has become smooth over the years and then patchy as the colour comes through. This one is good. The windows are also good and still have hole screens in them. Sometimes in this type of porthole the screen itself can fall apart. Mustangs are a bit prone to window leaks. The owner of this boat had the windows removed many years ago and then resealed professionally to avoid that problem. Another important thing worth looking at on Mustangs is the aluminium windscreen frame. In this area here, it's common to see areas of corrosion, and at the rear, behind the little quarter window in this corner here, it's common to see corrosion in this area here. This boat's not showing any surface corrosion at all. The seal has shrunk back somewhat from the end of the window here, but this is a trim piece and not really doing anything. These are glass windscreens and are all in nice condition. The navigation lights have been updated to LED. Common area for damage on this type of sports cruiser is on the turn of the hull around to the transom. This has got a couple of marks on it that'll wipe off that are from the dirty fenders, but the hull itself is tidy and there's no cracking visible where the swim platform joins onto the hull, which is another issue. Swim platform on this boat is in good order. It's been finished with a solid teak. The teak itself is in good condition, although it's showing a bit of wear on this step, which is the first step up from the bottom of the platform. You can see that the caulking is getting thin and there's a few cracks in the timber work. The teak itself is generally in good order all across the boat and has been recently sanded. In a couple of areas there's a small hole adjacent to the plug that's been put in place, but generally, allowing for the age of the boat, the teak is in good condition. It could certainly be made to look nicer with a little more sanding, cleaning with an algicide and finishing with Semtex or wax or teak oil or any one of the other alternatives that takes your fancy, depending on what kind of finish you might like to see. The important thing is that the underlying timber is in a condition you can do something with it. There's a custom stainless steel rear rail, one of the better ones, with the thick base plate and the bracing on the corner. It's got standard pin mounts to fit a barbecue at the top. Under the hatch is the fold-out boarding ladder. There's a storage locker underneath the teak on this side, and above it there's a bracket for an outboard. This boat's supplied without an outboard and tender. They were using a polycraft, but they're simply too heavy for this sort of boat. They run out about 68 kilos. Over the swim platform is an extended rear awning. This has a stainless steel frame with a vertical stainless pole to brace it, which is an excellent idea. Without that brace they tend to flop around. The corners on the hull on the other side are also good. There's a bit of cutting compound on it from when it was polished, but there's no bumps or scrapes, and there's no cracks in the joins between the swim platform and the hull itself. There's a couple of scuff marks where something's been dragged across the edge of the swim platform on the port side, but this will come off with some cutting. The top sides here at the rear are a bit chalky. This is the area most exposed to the sun. You can probably see on my fingers there's a bit of dust. The hull is still good though, and will come up with a cut and polish. The clears on the boat and covers are generally in good condition. There is a cut or a tear in the centre panel that has a white plastic sticky tape has been applied over the top of that. Would suggest that the centre panel needs to be replaced. Entering through the starboard transom door plus past the cockpit shower. The immediate impression is one of a good, well cared for boat. The carpet on the floor is new. It's a fiberglass back marine carpet, probably from P&N Flooring at Yacht in Brisbane. It hasn't been edged or coddled, as they call it. That's something I would certainly do because it improves the presentation. There's an IP34 shore power inlet. Some states may require a later version IP66 screw up or waterproof shore power fitting. The entertainment unit has a sink and an ice box under it. There is not a fridge unit. which have been fitted as aftermarket items in some boats. This one's just a straight ice box, Port side is the rear seats. The seat back, I believe, is original. The vinyl on it is in really remarkable condition for original quality. There's no marks on it, no broken stitching, no cuts or damage. Lifting up the back of that to see into the transom where the squab resides, it too is in remarkable condition. Pardon the funny camera angles while I hold things at strange places, but the squab is in very good order. And this rear compartment of the boat, which is normally a pigsty, is actually pretty clean, which tends to suggest the owners looked after it. The seat in front of that is also in very good order. There are a couple of small marks over this area here, which appear to be some kind of compression from something being stabbed into it, like a belt. And there's a couple of small cracks evident in this area and a few here, but generally this seat's in very good order. The Helm seat, which gets the most traffic, is showing a bit more wear. You can see that the Mustang label, which was sewn on, has now faded and fallen off. There's some small cracking in the stitching up here. There's crazing in the vinyl in this area here, and on the top of it there's crazing over all of this area here. The squab is actually pretty good, but the fold-up base that's used when standing and driving has areas, which I'll try and highlight with this, of crazing that runs basically the full length of it, so this seat really should be replaced. The seat on the other side, the seat back, is in generally pretty good order, but the base itself, as I get closer you'll see there's lots of crazing in the vinyl around this area here, and there's crazing at the top, so the areas most exposed to the sun have copped some abuse, so this seat needs to be replaced also. In the centre rear of the boat is a table. Mustangs of this era came with 3 different tables. A really awful plywood one that's generally fallen apart by now, a half decent timber one, and a fiberglass one. The one you see here is the one in the middle. It's the half decent timber one. It's had some work done to it and it's been repainted. It's presentable and functional, but it's not as good as the fiberglass ones. I'm standing in the middle of the cockpit now and simply sweeping all the way around. The side clears are good, the front right clear is good. The centre one is showing some scratches from being open and closed all the time, and there is an area in it which has got a crack that's been repaired with some tape, badly repaired. That needs to be replaced. The port clears are all good, as are the rear. The centre one at the back is a 2-way with clear PVC as well as a breezeway mesh for shade protection. The targa bar is in good order. Often we see some defects and some leaks around lights on the targa bar. This one's not showing any. It's all very tidy, and the tracks for the covers are all in good order. The framework for the awning on this boat's all 1 and 1 1/8 inch 316 stainless, rather than the alternative aluminium, which is a bit light and a bit floppy. The stainless steel is much stainless. The zips on this boat are all good. I've tested them all and can't find any that need replacing. Under the wet bar is the main switchboard. A bit hard to stick a camera in there as it's dark, but importantly this has had a separate house battery isolator installed. It has a circuit breaker RCD and a galvanic isolator on the 240 volt system, and you may be able to see this battery charger hiding right up in the corner. The RCD and galvanic isolator are a very good idea. Electrics on the boat are all neat and tidy, cupboards clean and dry. This is the top of the cupboard to the electrical panel. The silicon sealant is showing some mould growing in it. That's really common for boats once they get past 5 or 6 years of age. I actually like getting somebody to come down and remove all of the mouldy sealant and reseal them. In Brisbane the going rate's about $15 a metre to have somebody do that, but it makes your boat look 1,000,000% better, and it'll last a lot longer without growing mould again. Moving to the helm position, I'll start at the bottom simply for convenience. This has the fake carbon fibre dash that Mustang like to use. There's an electrophone, which is a GME GX548 VHF radio fitted. There's a masthead whip antenna for that, as well as a whip for the AM/FM radio. Above that is a base for the brand new Lowrance hook, which is a combination GPS and sounder unit with a 7-inch high definition screen. It's stored inside the boat. The wheel is a Mustang supplied USA brand sports wheel from a car. It's a wood grain timber finish, nice wheel with tilt adjustable hydraulic steering from Seastar. Boat's fitted with Teleflex Morse style Volvo push-pull cables. Gauges are Mustang supplied by Farrier. Gauges are all in nice condition and everything evidently works with power on. There's a Lumar bow thruster fitted, which is a nice touch and adds to the value of the boat. And the last device is the remote for the Clarion stereo. There is a compass fitted on top of the binnacle. This is the main saloon door. Trim is still good. I haven't found yet any gel coat crazing from expansion cracking. That normally occurs on the moulded fiberglass boats in this corner and in this corner down here. This one's just got a bit of dust in it. The acrylic door where the handles are fitted is showing a couple of cracks where they've drilled holes through them. That's pretty common. I'll unlock the door. I recommend to all buyers of Mustang 30s and 32s and 28s that you do something about the security. The key that opens them is a simple symmetrical head key. I can open most Mustangs with my garage door key. And now we'll move inside. Internally, this boat is in above average condition for its age. It presents really well. It has the lighter timber veneer finish that you mostly see in this LE version. It has the original Mustang Manchester bedding package, engraved horse on the mirror, fly screen insert for the round hatch. The veneers are good, there's no evident water damage, and the vinyl for the table is in really good condition. The kidney-shaped table is showing a couple of scuff marks down here bottom right and across the edge of the table. By the feel of it, it could be sanded off. Carpet throughout the interior of the boat is also above average. It's the pile, if I drag my foot across it, still raises easily, which suggests that it's got plenty of life left in it yet. Looking back, the main 12 volt panel is inside the door. Switches are all good and gauges are all working. There's a Clarion stereo system down in the corner with a 6-stack CD player. I'll try and stick, while I've got this running, I'll try and open the hatch. Under the stairs there's two hatches which give you access down into the bilge. I'm hoping that you can see with the minimal light that's here that the bilges are dry and clean. This is the area where there's a bilge pump as well as the shower drain pickup. All of this is neat and tidy. Often it isn't, because it's out of sight and out of mind. And then under the lower step is the front part of that locker, which is also neat and clean. You need to be able to access this to clean the shower drain sump, which is fitted under that floor. Going into the rear cabin, it still has the original Mustang embroidered curtain, as well as bed cover. This area is all neat and tidy. There's no evident mould in the lining on the wall, which is a problem for them sometimes. And in this area it had what was at the time an optional extra port from the cockpit into the rear area. There's a hanging locker at the back. The lining for that is all good. Looking at the galley, neat and tidy, sinks in good order, taps neat and clean. Kettle could do with a polish. The Kenyan cooktop is showing some signs of age. Generally we find if you pull them apart, take the elements out and then give this plate a buff with some cutting compound, they look a lot better. These are both alcohol and 240 volt. This is all still functioning as it should, it just needs a good clean. Moving up to the window area. These windows have been removed and resealed. The area here is all hard. That's important because a number of these suffer from rot in the area under the window after years of window leak. These appear to be good, as does the area above the cupboard underneath. Galley bench top is good. It's unmarked. The few little spots you see are actually bits of paper or something. But the bench top's in really good order. This is the Lowrance display unit for the GPS. Above it is the microwave, which is brand new. The Lowrance unit is also brand new. What's not brand new is below it is the front opening fridge. This is the front opening fridge that I finally got open. It's showing some staining in the fridge door. There's some mould at the bottom of the fridge, probably from that bottle of milk that shouldn't be in there. And I noticed that the fridge itself is not screwed into the cupboard, so it can actually move slightly. It should have a couple of screws put in to secure that. Drawers below the sinks are all good, all working on their runners. There's storage underneath the sink, and storage lockers basically all over the boat. The usual Mustang format. This has got power for the Palsonic TV, which is fitted above it. And on the other side of the boat, while we're talking about cupboards, is the bar area. Window above that is also good. Bathroom compartment neat and tidy. We often see some crazing in the gel coat in the corners of the moulding here. This one has none. It's got a simple, what looks like a TMC electric toilet. There is no holding tank fitted. The compartment is in very good order. This boat has full-length piano hinge on the door. Some of the models only have a pair of hinges and the door tends to come adrift. This is the better option. Stepping back up into the cockpit, I just noticed this boat has a aftermarket port been added to give an extra storage compartment, and in that compartment there's a snubber for the anchor system. This is the underside of the table. Not something I'd normally bother with, but this has a custom screw-in stainless steel pedestal rather than the cheap aluminium one. Gives a much better fitting. Quick look at the floor underneath the carpet. I do so because you can generally pick up from the amount of non-skid that's remaining how much wear the boat's had. This, the non-skid is like original, which is what you'd expect with a boat that's only done 409 and 409. One gauge is showing 414, the other 419. So, engine hatch now up. The insulated lining on the underside of the hatch is good. Gas struts are feeling like they might need a regas or replacement. They're all of about $30 each. Quick sweep around the engine room. Aluminium tanks are in very good order. There's a little bit of surface corrosion forward, you can see, which is the dull area from water or condensation dripping on top, but generally above average. The engines themselves are dry and clean. A little bit of surface rust on some end of hose connectors and pulleys, which is also pretty much as you'd expect. But generally a very tidy, dry engine room. It's not full of water or oil, which is a very good sign. The forward part of the engine room, there's an isotherm 240 and heat exchanger hot water system. This is a look at the front of the engine from about 500 mil away, sitting on the floor of the engine room. You see the heat exchangers had a service. There's new gasket material, new seals in the end of it, and they've knocked off corrosion that's been here previously. The other engine is also very tidy. This is the area under the rear of the engine, just sticking the camera in as far as I can get to. So that's the very rearward bilge pump. Looking in there, it's dry. It's a little dirty, as you would expect. Normally they're terrible. And as I draw out the camera through the small gap that's between the engines, you can see that both sets of manifolds and risers are in good order, one of which is the one to our right. The port engine is just a port engine. This is the top of the port tank. A little bit of surface corrosion, but nothing untoward. Stainless valves and hoses are all good. The hydraulic trim pump right down in the corner is also dry and tight. You might be able to see in the very centre of the picture a white dot. That's a pinhole of sunlight coming through the hull, basically on the transom above the swim platform, where somebody, I suspect, has removed a screw. That should be sealed. And sweeping around the engine room, the rest of it's all really neat and tidy. There's nothing obviously untoward in here. It presents very well. I stuck the camera again under the engines to try and get a shot of the engine mounts. These look good as well. Generally the service standard on the boat's been good, so I would not expect any major issues with them. Electrical fittings on the boat are all very tidy. Everything's nicely secured. There are 3 batteries, 2 start, 1 house, that are all sort of 15-17 plate N70 size. And the electrical cabling has all been looked after very nicely and kept tidy. Everything retained as it should be. Overall, a nice engine room, a very tidy boat. There's a few small things need attention. Predominantly the crack in the PVC and the clears. Some kind of finishing on the teak outside, and a polish of the top sides above. This is that crack in the forward part of the screen. The owner's actually ordered a new panel for this. Hopefully that will become available before you take delivery.